All right, so in this lecture, we're going to talk about one of the most fundamental building blocks of any artistic endeavor, especially traditional or 2D mediums, which is going to be form. So form is the concept or the idea that something exists in three-dimensional space. Now, most of the time when we're doing digital art with a tablet, we're probably going to be digital painting, which is a 2D medium. So this is going to be, there's obviously sculpting and 3D sculpting and stuff like that, which is literally dealing with form in a much more hands-on way, but we need to create the illusion of form even though we're painting or drawing in 2 dimensions. So there's multiple ways that form is defined, and obviously the main one, or typically the biggest one, is going to be light. But for this, I want to focus on another aspect of it. So in order to be able to paint and draw well, you're going to need to be able to imagine objects in 3 dimensions in your head. So for this lecture, the assignment is going to be to take these 3 images that I have prepared here and go through each one, and I'm going to do a demo right now and show you what we're going to do, but you're going to create a wireframe to help yourself be able to envision these things in 3-dimensional space. Okay, so in order to do that, let's go ahead and turn this off really quick. We have our drawing layer here, and I'm going to show you an example of what I mean. You're going to be breaking down all these images into 3-dimensional shapes that consist of either, let's get back to our layer, a sphere, a cylinder, or a cone. Oh, and of course, obviously, a box. Or any combination of these things, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Bring my brush size up here. And we're going to start. We're going to do this cow. I'm only going to do the cow, and then you guys are going to go on and do the rest of them, okay? So you're going to do these 3 images and then 2 images of your choosing of whatever you want. So a total of 5 images, okay? So to give you an example, we're trying to break this down into as simple of shapes as possible. Make sure that you're on the right layer. So for example, the face here can for the most part be broken down into sort of like a trapezoid-like box shape with sort of basically cylinders for horns. So you can see I'm tracing over the image here. That's totally okay. That's what you want to do for this assignment, so that you can get a more accurate reading of what these shapes consist of. I know you might feel brave or that you can do it without using this, but for this assignment, go ahead and copy the image. You'll want to add these sort of contour lines. These can help define the shape a little bit more because they add context to the various forms and make it a little bit easier to see where things go. So you can see here as I go on his mouth and the parts of his head, it makes it a little bit clearer. Okay. Next, for his neck, it's going to essentially be one big cylinder. All right, excellent. Then for his back here, it's essentially going to be simplified down into, for the most part, what will be a basic box shape. Like so. Okay. Then his stomach area we can break down into roughly a large oblong sphere, sort of like an egg shape. Okay, and then for his hindquarters, another box shape as well, roughly. Okay. And then let's go ahead and get his back legs here, which are going to be, roughly speaking, basically cylinders. Okay. And like I said, you can add some contour lines to help define the form of things a little bit. And then we're going to go ahead and do these front legs as well. Grab our eraser tool and just clean up some of the line work here. All right, and then if we turn off the layer of the cow, you can see we have a pretty good idea of what his overall form is. Now when you're drawing, you want to be able to think this way in your head and be able to kind of break down all of the things you're painting into these basic sort of forms and shapes. If you can do that, when you get to the lighting layer, things are going to be a lot easier and it's going to come off as a lot more realistic. If you're guessing on the form or not really thinking about it, it's not consistent, it's going to be really hard to paint a realistic, believable image because it's going to look really amateurish or look flat or even just distorted and not make any sense. So that's the demo. Now what you need to do is do the same one. You can follow along and do the cow, then do the train. Okay, so you got cylinders here, cubes, cones, different shapes. Then you got a tractor, which is a little bit more complex in some different ways. And then you could pick two more. They could be whatever you want, but it needs to be some sort of three-dimensional object that you can sort of create the form of. So that's it for this lecture. I'll see you guys in the next one.